First, let me make two announcements. The strike on my main channel has been removed. I can live stream again. The whole situation's really confusing and I'm getting conflicting messages from my MCN and from YouTube, but the strike is gone. The video was reinstated. I deleted it immediately. I don't know what's going on, but there's no strike anymore. Before I talk about this video, I want to point out this t-shirt that is available in my store at teespring.com/Timcast. It is all about, the Green Revolution. Liberals get the bike lock too, and what that means is liberals, man, you gotta go out there and get your bike locks too. See, that's the revolution fist, holding up that bike lock. And what that means is, if we all ride our bikes, we can save the environment. So check it out, teespring.com/Timcast. But let's talk about why I think Trump the left is helping Trump inadvertently. So on my main channel, I put out a video called "Far Left Rhetoric Might Be Helping Trump." The thumbnail was a bit more definitive than that. But one thing I did include was more personal issues, right? So my video on my main channel is mostly about how immigration rhetoric, how people feel, what the stats are in terms of, do people like ICE, do they hate ICE, what the politicians are saying. But now we're going to look at some tweets and some more individual opinions. So this is Mark Kern, and he is a game developer. He tweeted out, "Let's talk about how to beat Trump, specifically how you can get me and millions of others back to voting for Democrats like I used to." Okay, how can we do that? He says, "You have to want me back. Stop being butthurt that I voted for Trump and stop trying to get me punched, fired, or thrown out of restaurants. You need us back if you want to beat Trump. Stop pushing us into ditches. You will lose again." I can agree with that. "Embrace free speech. You used to, and it opened a lot of doors for progressive values because we were free to express controversial ideas at the time, like LGBTQ rights. You would riot if speech was muzzled, and rightly so. Stop shadow banning and deplatform. Hear, hear." Next, "Stop campaigning to resist and impeach and have a real message again. Hope was a powerful one for Obama and hooked me back then. You need to find a positive message to rally around a great vision for the future. Right now your message is hate and fear and zero vision." He says, "Embrace middle America and our country again. You can have a vision for what America used to be, but stop saying America and middle America had to go. Make America everyone's home by welcoming. Right now, you just want to burn it all down. Not a good look." And you've got people marching around with signs, "Make America Mexico, make California Mexico again." They're holding Mexican flags. And that doesn't send a good signal to middle America about what this country is doing. "Fight for jobs for everyone. People want to work, and stop fetishizing tech. Not everyone can be a web programmer, and we need food and power and dirty jobs. Value hard work in blue-collar industries and help them too, and hold their jobs in the respect they are due. Fight for them. Finally, fight for equal rights and opportunity, but please stop trying to force everyone to live your way. Stop trying to criminalize every minor thing and get rid of political correctness. Learn to laugh again and embrace comedy as a figurative, not literal. Leave fiction alone. It's about having a vision. It's about having a vision, the build-up America, instead of one focused on tearing it down. Evolve it, don't destroy it. Campaigning on he is and his base are evil Nazis is just wrong and doesn't work. A lot of us used to vote for you and share your values. You don't have to do all this overnight, but just showing me and millions of others that you are willing to move in this direction would do a lot to get me to take a second look. Want to beat Trump? Take a page from your own speaking points and start to listen, for real." Totally agree. Most of my friends that have switched sides are doing it for basically these reasons. That what I said in my main channel video today is that the platform in which the left can stand on is shrinking as the rhetoric goes crazy. When they say things like, you got the DSA out there saying no borders, no nation. Well, that's crazy. There are liberals in this country, I think most liberals like America. But there is a small faction of loud, angry individuals that just shove everybody out and they say, "You're not a real leftist, get out, you're a Nazi, we don't care anyway." So I see this thread, and I'm like, "Hey, that's a pretty good thread, Mark Kern. That's some good insight. Thank you for letting me know how you feel and what I need to do to convince you to vote for, a Democratic person." Well, how do you think people responded on Twitter? First, this guy, Michael Coleman, I don't know who he is, Rock Lobster 88, said, "Wow, that was a lot of words to say, quote, I'm a jackass, please love me, my father never did, and by the way, I'm voting for Trump regardless, I just wanted to be a smartass about it." And then he says, "You need an editor." Okay, well, this is kind of proving his whole thread right. What else did people say? Well, this person said, "Just vote your conscience, if you have one." I don't know what that means. It's kind of an insult, but at the same time, it's pretty fair. Let's see what else we got. Jeremy Constantinople said, this thread, I revealed myself to have no moral compass whatsoever in 2016, so now I demand that you do everything and anything I desire to convince me to do the moral bare minimum going forward. Wow. And then we have this person, all the responses are the reason Trump wins in 2020 and why the Dems are DOA. Dems stopped working for the majority and lost their way. Then we have this this journalist, Alex Leo. I think she's a journalist. She does former Daily Beast. Oof. And she said, actually, Dems are the majority. I don't know why you get a journalist jumping in here, but I guess she's not a journalist anymore, so. The civics lessons for you. Actually, the majority doesn't matter. It's called the Electoral College. We live in a republic. You don't vote for the president. You vote on how you want your state to vote. Yes, baby cakes, I know. Do you know the Electoral College was created to satisfy racists? Oh. Okay. Still works that way. You have minority rule, you have gerrymandered your way into the White House, and you have EC'd your way into the you have gerrymandered your way into the House, and you have EC'd, Electoral College, your way into the White House. Stop pretending you are the majority. Okay, let me explain something about the Electoral College. Now, I'm not a historian, I'm not an expert on all this, but I did do a documentary series on California and water rights and learned a whole lot about republics. And I learned something very interesting about why we have an Electoral College, and why, technically, a vote in one state is worth more than a vote in another state. And it's very simple. The Founding Fathers didn't want a country that was dominated by urban centers. And they said, how do we make sure there's a balance between those that live in undeveloped areas and those that live in developed areas? And there's no real perfect solution. But the Electoral College is one of those things. If this country simply worked on a popular vote system, the major cities would always win. And what does that mean? I think politicians would only campaign in like Los Angeles, Illinois, and New York, and then maybe sprinkle in a few other major cities on the way. But why bother with anyone living outside a city if you just have to win the city anyway? You want the majority of the population. No. The Electoral College is essentially a protection for those who would want to live outside of a city. So think about what happens, right? When I was in California covering the drought, what I learned from some of these farmers, and they could be wrong, but this is their opinion, that in Tulare County, for instance, where they do a ton of farming, they only have a few 100,000 people. They're voting against people in Los Angeles, 10+ million people. Who's going to win in an election? Yeah, clearly there's more people in the cities, and their vote is going to be for city-related things. So their policies are based on their life in a city. But what do the farmers have to do? Well, for some reason, the farmers aren't allowed to use their own surface water. When it rains, they have to give that water to the cities and other places. It's been a long time since I covered it, so forgive me, I'm probably going to get some of the details wrong, and I recommend doing your own research. The point is, when the Electoral College came about, they said, okay, we've got these states that have very few people, and if we want to be fair and say, look, you're going to be part of the union, your vote matters, then we need to make sure the states have certain voting power. And that's why we have the Senate and the House of Representatives. It's trying to do both systems as a balance. Each state gets 2 senators, but representatives are based on, population size. In which case, there is they're trying to balance out the system. And the Electoral College, what it does is it basically says, look, very few people live in Wyoming. Many people live in New York. If we did only popular vote, Wyoming would lose every single time to New York State. So we need to make a system that says, hey, it doesn't matter how many people you have, you will be fairly represented in your state. It's not perfect. I'm not saying I agree with it, but I think this is a perspective lost on many people. Moving on, let's talk about why this is a good example of how Trump is going to win in 2020. Assuming he runs. Some people are saying he's not going to run. So yeah, she talks about Electoral College is racist or whatever. Sev09, the replies to this section make me shake my head. It's about people like him and the drastic shift in the Democratic Party, but keep down this path because it's been healing so much. I don't know what that means. It is Trump voters who should be apologizing to the rest of us for unleashing this monstrosity on the country and the planet. We don't owe this guy a thing. If he can't see what he and his ilk have done and do better in the next election, then no amount of convincing will work. The left is moving too far to the left and they're refusing to compromise. The right is full on board for Trump and they're gonna do their Trump thing. And then you have moderate liberals and centrists who are like, hey man, I like America, I don't really disagree, I don't really agree with like all of this deregulation and like tax cut stuff. Who do I vote for? Hillary's not the right person. You've got this crazy authoritarian left stuff being pushed. You've got these nasty individuals online just berating and insulting, calling people racist and Nazi. You've got journalists lying about people. What is a moderate individual, your run-of-the-mill liberal, going to do when their option is to vote for the group that's chanting, you know, no borders, abolish ICE? When people were out in San Jose during the campaign, they were chanting make California Mexico again. They were chanting no Trump, no wall, no USA at all. What do you think your regular American is going to do when they hear that? Are they going to want to vote for your candidate, Bernie Sanders or Hillary Clinton? Hell no. They're going to be like, wow, they don't want America. So I imagine there are a lot of people who are like, look, these people are crazy. It's not like Trump supporters are all saints and all, you know, smart or anything. They've had their share of violent incidents, and you've got the extremists on the right as well. But it's the only group that's standing up and being like, yeah, we should do something about immigration, and yeah, America is great. So don't take that as my opinion. I'm just trying to point that out, that it seems like you have the far left to choose from, or the run-of-the-mill conservative and like right-wing parties. In fact, Donald Trump is actually further to the left in terms of American politics than Republicans before him. Keep in mind, like, Barack Obama opposed gay marriage during his campaign. Hillary Clinton was in favor of a border barrier, same as Trump. Trump is almost on par with what Hillary and Obama were in 2008. And now you've got people being like, why would people vote for Trump? Look, there are a lot of reasons I don't like Trump. There are a lot of reasons why I didn't like Hillary. There's a lot of reasons why I didn't like Obama. Obama killed American citizens, extrajudicial assassination. I mean, they call him the deporter-in-chief. If you don't like what Trump is doing, then Obama was worse. Obama did a lot of things. George W. Bush did a lot of things. Hillary Clinton was in the State Department, did a lot of things. And Trump is doing many of those same things. Missile strikes in Syria, weapons deals with Saudi Arabia, intervention in Yemen, drone strikes, commando raids in Yemen. I don't like that stuff personally. And I call it out all the time. That's stuff that I think should be called out. And I'll take this opportunity to say that when Trump said we should get people out of this country without a hearing, I'm like, no, you can't do that. You know, some people commented on my last video saying, Tim, illegal immigrants have no constitutional rights. Well, I'm not a constitutional academic or lawyer or anything. I'm pretty sure they still do though, regardless of whether or not they're citizens. I do know that tourists do have constitutional protections. But that's not the point. The point is, let's imagine I, who, depending on how tan I get, am ethnically ambiguous, am hanging out in, you know, a border town, and ICE comes up and says, you know what, we don't think you're American, and detains me, and then sends me to Mexico without a hearing. The point is, you can say that, sure, it makes sense to take people who enter the country illegally and just send them back, but how do you know for sure? We need due process to figure out it's innocent, you're innocent until proven guilty. And that's another point where I'll criticize Trump. Hey, I got no problem doing it. And you're welcome to argue with me in the comments, and you know that I will never try to misconstrue your arguments, and I'm always listening. But the point is, I don't like Trump, I'm not going to vote for him. But I understand why people felt they had no other choice. We'll look at a couple more of these and then we'll get out of here, because I think I made my point. Brian said the Democratic Party has been heading downhill for years. Many Trump supporters certainly exaggerate how far it's fallen. But I can certainly understand why the impulse to lash out in dramatic. I can understand the impulse to lash out in dramatic fashion. We can do better. Yes. And then this happened. Rob Sheridan said, "You clearly just want the world to cater to you, and it's utterly selfish and boring, and paints you as massively ignorant and uncaring. Nothing anyone says is going to please you if you're even remotely considering supporting this massive shit stain that is Trump and his party. Bye." This is a verified guy. I don't know. Rob Sheridan, he's a writer for high-level Vertigo Comics. Okay. And Mark Kern said, "I just asked Democrats to appeal to moderates, and specifically to traditional Democratic values. That's not asking the world to cater to me. Just giving some mild suggestions to Democrats on how to win the next election. Your hyperbolic reaction and hate is why you lost." And there you have it. Stay tuned. I'll have another video up in about a half an hour.